Welcome to episode number 4 on the Whole Circle podcast with Amy Crawford from The Holistic Ingredient.
Welcome to the Whole Circle podcast, a show about health, wellness, food and fun. So join us, Tracy and Joe, as we interview some of the world's most amazing health and wellness experts and find out how to live your best life ever. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, so sit back and enjoy the show. Amy is not only an amazing businesswoman, but she's also a Reiki Master, Hypnosis Practitioner, health coach, author, and a business coach. But on top of all that, she also has a Batchelor of Arts, majoring in psychology and sociology. I can't even say it. So she knows her stuff. Amy has built an amazing community on Instagram and Facebook and has one of the best wellness blogs out there. She shares stories on all topics from nutrition to fitness to mindset to health. And that is why we have her on the show today. We are going to talk to Amy about her health, but to be specific, her very painful journey through the treatment of vaginal thrush and ongoing urinary tract infections, as we believe this is a topic that all women should know about. So welcome to the show, Amy Crawford.
Thanks, Joe and Tracy. Well, it's not going to get any more personal than that, is it?
Not at all.
It is. We're so excited to have you here, Amy, because it is a taboo subject, isn't it? And I guess we don't talk about it very often, but it is so common. And something that stood out to us, you wrote a blog post on your journey, which is what we're going to talk about today. But something stood out to us that you said 550,000 people search per month yeast infections, but only 33,000 people search chocolate cake. That is staggering.
Staggering.
That is obviously a topic people are really interested in.
Say that again. 550,000 people, not 500 people. 550,000 people a month are searching yeast infections. It's just crazy.
And it is. And
it must have taken you... Oh, sorry. It must have taken you a lot of courage to write the blog post. So well done you. And so for our listeners that have no idea what this blog post is we're talking about, if you could just go right back to the start on how your journey started, that'd be great.
Sure. Thank you, ladies. It did take a lot of courage, and it was a lot of thinking. I probably thought about writing this blog post for a couple of months because it's terribly personal. But nevertheless, the upshot has been well worth my while in light of the feedback I've received. So for those that haven't read my blog post and haven't been following my vaginal journey, so about a year and a half ago, in a relationship with an ex-boyfriend, I honestly felt that I was developing an allergy to sex, and we've just got to tell it how it is, don't we, really? And so effectively what was happening was that every time that things did get pleasurable, I ended up with thrush and typically urinary tract infection as well. And as you can imagine, this was terribly frustrating. And it went on for months and months and months, and it was pretty ghastly. And you know, as many other women would do, I tended to race off to the chemist and get some anti-thrush cream, whatever it was, but not sort of understanding at the time that every time I was using this cream, I was actually worsening the situation, because it tends to, not only does it kill the bad bacteria, but it can kill some of the good bacteria, and it weakens the situation. And I hadn't been told that, and I hadn't. So I went for the cream, and obviously that the tablet you can take, the single dose, is preferable. So I was taking that as well, and and there again, that was worsening my situation. And I have a wonderful nutritionist, and she was working with me for across the year, you know, with my diet and other bits and pieces, trying to get to the bottom of it. And then in the end, it just got really quite severe, to the point, I think it was probably late last year, and I said to her, I think I just must be allergic to sex, but I'm not about to give up that. So, I mean, Lord help me, I'm not giving that up. But I thought, well, because the thing is, it wasn't coming unless I did have sex. So, I mean, it's, so anyway, and then it became pretty evident. We felt that there was a candida related issue because there were a lot of other symptoms that were coming about as a result. So I was getting pretty bad brain fog and bloating, and my energy wasn't great. For those of you that don't know, I've got a history of chronic fatigue syndrome, several years of that, and adrenal fatigue. So I have energy. I have had a lot of experience with that, and these sorts of things, symptoms coming back. So that's pretty much how we were treating it. We thought, oh, the thrush is just a symptom of the candida. So I was put on a very strict anti-candida diet, given a whole host of supplements, and within the matter of 2 weeks, lots of things started improving. My brain fog disappeared. I felt my energy was getting better. I had this amazing clarity. And even skin conditions, I have had a bit of psoriasis and things like that, was all disappearing. But the other bit wasn't, which was just so frustrating. And So
with the candida diet, what did that involve?
So that involved removing any sorts of foods that would feed the overgrowth.
Yeah.
So I was put on a very low carbohydrate diet because the carbohydrates tend to feed it. So really, really low. So I was allowed vegetables, but none of the kind of heavy, like no potatoes, sweet potatoes, very little in the way of sweet vegetables. But certainly no breads, no grains, which I don't typically eat much of anyway. And then absolutely no sweeteners. The only sweet food that I was allowed to eat was basically like a small handful of berries a day.
Yeah, right.
And then
how long did you have to do that for?
Oh, that went on for months. Alcohol, no sugar, no carbohydrate. I can't think what else. I was even taken off fermented foods, kombucha and sauerkraut, which I love. It was terribly strict, but I'm beyond. I've had to do so many sort of elimination type diets and different diets to help me get my health back on track that I don't sort of let it frustrate me. And if anything, it's just an exciting challenge because you never know what will happen. And I thought, well, who knows? I mean, I could end up feeling amazing, and I did start feeling amazing, and it was really exciting, except for the fact that my nether regions weren't improving, which led me to believe that that there had to be something else. Yeah. And then I was tipped off about this particular bacteria called Ureaplasma. And I did so much late night Google searching on this and desperately trying to find a link between that and thrush or urinary tract infections. And it doesn't, if you look up Ureaplasma, it doesn't always say that UTIs or thrush are actually a symptom. But of course I was trying to find any bloody link I could find. And there were some articles that said that they were, and some other symptoms that were similar to what I'd been feeling. So off I went to the doctor and tested positive, which was an absolute revelation. And I will say that when I'd been doing all this Googling, I started getting very nervous because I had read a lot that it is terribly difficult to clear this bacteria. Yeah. That it often doesn't go with one round of antibiotics. And so from someone who did, I believe, I know that I had a candida issue, to be then told that you might have to take antibiotics was potentially devastating because all the other symptoms would then come back. And the issue with taking antibiotics anyway is that it brings on thrush. So I'm like, pulling my hair out. Such a catch-22. But then at the same time, I thought, but if I don't do this, if I don't try these antibiotics, this journey may never end. Yeah.
So how do you get tested for that? Is it just a swab
just a swab.
It a blood test?
And look,
right.
Okay, so a little bit of background on it. So it is, as I've written on my blog post, from what I've read, apparently about 15% of us are colonised with this bacteria in our reproductive tracts when we're born. But somewhere between 40 and 80% of us sexually active adults are colonised with it or have this bacteria. but we don't all have symptoms.
Right.
And so doctors are often hesitant to test you for it because you guys could probably, like my doctor said to me, she very much said, if we walk into Coles supermarket this afternoon, I said, well, it's really unlikely we're likely to do that because I don't go into Coles supermarket. But she said, well, if we did, she said, if I tested 20 people in Coles right now, 19 of them would probably test positively for this bacteria.
Right.
But they just don't have any symptoms. So that's for that reason doctors don't readily test for it.
Wow.
And in fact, since I was tested for it, and then I had, we could talk about this shortly, I'm sure, but when I was tested and then put on antibiotics that weren't working, I said to her, well, should we retest them to see where I'm at? She said, well, there's just no point. There's no point testing you if there are no symptoms, then there's no point testing you.
Right.
So it's a little bit frustrating from that perspective.
Yeah. So that is that's totally confusing, isn't it? Because if you think that you might have it or you're a reoccurring sufferer and, you know, you're just at your wit's end, then it's sort of not really fair, really, is it?
No, that's not fair. It's definitely not fair. What I've been through the last year and a half felt worse than 4 or 5 years of chronic fatigue syndrome, quite frankly. Yeah.
Oh, you poor thing. That's awful. Yeah. Going back, I just want to go back a few steps because in your blog post you mention quite a lot of natural ways that you tried to overcome your yeast infection issue.
Yeah.
And one thing that stood out to me was that you could stick a garlic clove up there and just fish it out in the morning.
Oh, it fascinated me.
I had no idea that you could put garlic up your vagina.
Yes, and so that is called a pessary. So I just because my blog post is incorrect, Mamma Mia shared my blog post and somebody on Facebook piped up and said it's a pessary. Is that right?
Yeah.
Pessary, not a suppository. I called it a suppository. Apparently, a suppository goes up your bottom.
It's the other one.
I think.
Oh, okay, right. Oh,
sorry.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, ladies, there we have it. More information than you needed. So sorry, I lost my train of thought then. What was
we were talking about the natural remedies.
I want to know.
Oh, yes, no, the garlic. Yes.
Yeah.
So in my desperation, I was absolutely determined that I would be able to free myself of this thrush issue alone without these creams and anything else. So oh my goodness, have I Googled? I mean, of those 550,000 people that Google thrush yeast infections every month, I was probably 100,000 of those searches. So garlic pessaries or suppositories was something I actually saw quite a lot of. And so effectively, you know, and ladies, do your own research. This is something that I've done that I believe assisted me. And actually I think it did help ease the issue. So effectively what you do is you just peel a garlic clove. Different articles say different things. Some would say just put the garlic clove, insert the garlic clove as you would a tampon, and that is that. However, then I read in a different post that you can actually slice it in half. You slice it in half, so you've got a raw edge.
Yep.
And then insert it. Now, there are women who are really concerned about losing said garlic clove. So it was suggested in some posts that I read that if you needed to feel a bit more confidence, you actually get a needle and put some cotton through it.
Oh, yeah.
And thread the cotton through it so that you can then retrieve it easily the next morning. So anyway, I tended to do the no pain, no gain kind of, and I'm just like, I'm going hard at this. So I'd slice it in half and then also put slits on the other side. Now, from what I did read, if there is no issue down there, you would feel it, a slight burn or a slight sting. It was, but if there is an issue, if there is an issue, you don't. And that was very true for me. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, right.
Really, but what was quite bloody extraordinary, and you'll laugh, is that I'd put it in and then within 20 seconds I'd taste garlic in my mouth.
Oh, no way.
It's the most extraordinary thing. It's just like, I spoke to my doctor about it. I said, what is that? She said, well, it's just, I guess, immediately hitting your bloodstream.
Yeah.
Or something. But it would be in my mouth. So for that reason, you don't really want to put it up in the morning. I think because otherwise you've got garlic in your mouth all day. So I always did it at night. And I think the idea is if you want to start doing it and maybe just test it with perhaps of garlic. In my view, I was thinking at least if you're going to put a garlic clove in there, you want to put a couple of slits on it so that it releases some of its wonders.
Yep.
It's goodness. So I think the idea is as soon as you start feeling that something's happening, that you do it, you start it then and do it for a night. And then if nothing happens, if you still feel there's an issue, do it for another night. If you catch it a bit late, as I did after I discovered this technique the first time, it might take a few nights, but I actually did feel it made a difference.
Yeah, wow.
Okay.
It seemed
so interesting.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot as well through your post about some of the just orally taken things. So can you go through some of those? Because
yes.
I'll let you know why. Like people with young children can still get thrush. Like young girls get thrush, and obviously they don't want to be sticking things up their woo-woo. So, you know, what sort of orally things do you take or did you take?
Yeah, so orally, but as well, and so apple cider vinegar, absolutely. Well, apple cider vinegar is amazingly antiviral, antibacterial, is so powerful. And I drink that with warm water every morning when I get up. It's the first thing I do. But the other thing you could do, if there's real discomfort down there when it gets itchy or swollen or whatever it is, and this is something I did do, was sit in a very, very shallow bath with a couple of cups of apple cider vinegar, and that can help soothe and create. And the one of the best things about apple cider vinegar is it improves the pH of that area. So because if it's acidic, if that area is acidic, as clearly mine was, it's a breeding ground for further infection and bacteria.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is get it to a more alkaline state, which is why apple cider vinegar is really good.
Yeah.
But even something like coconut oil, which is also antiviral, on that area can be good, I think. And that was something else I did.
Yep.
Just,
Wiped
applying coconut oil in the area, not inside, but around. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you mentioned to use coconut oil and tea tree oil.
Yeah, so I did that too, and ladies, be really careful with that one. So what I literally would do is get a tiny little bowl and put like a heaped teaspoon of coconut oil in there with, say, 3 drops of tea tree oil, and like melt it or mix it all up together, and then put the tampon in there and let it kind of absorb as much as it could, and then I'd insert that.
We were asked a question on our website one day about it, and by a desperate mother of a young girl. And all the research I did was all inserting stuff. And, of course, with a young girl, you didn't want to do that. But one of the posts I did read was they soaked a pad. And so a similar thing. And I thought, that's actually a great option for a younger girl. They soaked a pad and they put it in the fridge. So, like we've all, for those that have had thrush, if you can cool it down, it takes the itch away for a little while. So,
yeah, definitely. That's a great idea, actually.
She cooled it down, put it in the fridge, soaked it all, put it in the fridge to kind of set. It was almost set hard, I suppose, coconut oil in the fridge. But, yeah, then they put that in her undies at night and she could go to bed and at least get some sleep for a few hours.
Oh,
so that was really cool.
Yeah, because I was fortunate, and sometimes it was really uncomfortable. I know some people have it. It feels like it's on fire, horrible. But another, now that you mentioned cold, I know that something else that I read was yogurt popsicles.
Yep.
So freezing yogurt in little ice cubes and then putting that inside, which I didn't do. That sounds a bit too messy. But in terms of what else I tried that went down my mouth, that apple cider vinegar, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yogurt, I'm dairy intolerant, so I was still eating sugar-free coconut yogurt. That wasn't on my blog post, I don't think. Most days I try and get that in. Obviously probiotics, highly powerful probiotics, in fact. Worth mentioning, the probiotics that I got that really have made such a difference for me are the Bioceutical 7-day satchels, and you take a satchel a day.
And just from the chemist?
Seriously powerful. And no, Bioceuticals is definitely from a health store or
right.
What do you call it? Like I don't think Bioceuticals is necessarily prescription prescribed. No. So I just got this in my little local, what do you call it? Health food store. It's not really a health food store, but something like that.
Health food shop.
Yes, but that was kind of like, they're expensive. It's something like $35 for 7 sachets, 7 days, but I I swear that was really good for me.
Yeah.
Essential oils are something that I have a real adoration for.
Mm-hmm.
And I only touched on this in the blog post because there's so much information around the efficiency of essential oils, but every day, for what I actually did a few months ago is I bought some little veggie caps, and I made about 50 in one sitting veggie capsules without realizing, and that took me forever because obviously you've got to pull these little capsules apart, and they had like 10 different essential oils all lined up. I was holding one and going drop, 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 drop. Did about 50 of them. It took me hours. Put them all in a little jar, and then of course they leaked.
Oh.
I think the oil just went through the veggie caps.
Yeah, I was about to say, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, and they do. So that was so some of them survived, most of them didn't. But oregano is something that is spoken widely about for this. I mean, oregano is like a amazing nature's antibiotic. So I was taking, and still do take, a drop breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
And also on the soles of my feet.
Yes.
But I was also taking a drop with lemon, with tea tree. There's one called On Guard. I think I was taking wild orange. There's cinnamon. I mean, I was just, taking a lot. And for those of you that haven't tried oregano essential oil, be terribly, terribly careful because it is worse than the hottest red chili.
Yeah, I've
if
heard
it gets
it's
anywhere near your lips or it is so. It's and you even have to be so careful that I don't have issues with bad tasting things. I just like to get them down. So, but with oregano, I put a drop in a little glass of water, and if I'm not concentrating, if you're not concentrating, and as things do, it can go down your windpipe.
Oh.
And oh my gosh, that's happened to me before, and it was there were tears. It's horrible. So you've got to be careful.
Yeah, no, I definitely knew it was a hot oil.
Yeah.
Or what they refer to as a hot oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, really
and never near your
briefly,
lips and eyes.
we touched on. Now, I'm going to try and say it right. Thuja.
Oh, Thuja, and everyone, I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. Thuja. So, having written this blog post and sent it out to the world, I then started receiving emails from people, and there's lots of comments on my blog post of women who've been on a similar journey or have since been diagnosed with it and are being treated. But one particular lady commented that she'd been tested positive and her naturopath had put her on Thuja, which is a herbal supplement.
Yep.
And she was given it as a pessary and as in an oral tincture. And within 2 weeks, all her symptoms had disappeared.
Gone. Wow.
Which is something I really wish I'd known about before I ended up what became taking 6 rounds of antibiotics, because there's been a real knock on with my health as a result of the antibiotics, which has been terribly frustrating. But I hear that, I think it's for anyone, I mean, knowing now what I do about that option, I would have tackled that first before antibiotics.
Yeah.
Having said that as well, I think it can really depend how long you've had this bacterial infection for as to how difficult it will be to clear, probably, obviously.
Yep.
But I dare say I had it for about 1.5 years. Some people, and it was pretty severe, some people may have a hint of it and it's easier to clear.
Yeah.
So I've just got to hope that once I've got to hope that I can be confident that it's gone and that it's not going to come back.
Yeah.
But,
so how long have you been clear of symptoms now?
Well, that's a bit questionable. So typically what was happening for me, and for those that go through this similar journey, so what happened, so I was taking, I can't remember the name of the antibiotic now, dioxylin, I think that's what it's called. Okay. Which is a typical Dioxylin, I think it's right, it's on my blog post anyway. But typically what I've heard is that, and they come in 7 day, one a day for 7 days. And what I had read is that many people were taking 1 in the morning, 1 at night for 7 days. But my doctor just put me on 1 a day. So I did that for a week and the symptoms lessened a tiny bit. But 4 days after I finished, they were definitely back. So then she put it on again for a week. And then they lessened a little bit. And then I was put on double a day for 14 days. And then I thought, oh, my God, I'm in so much trouble now. you know, in terms of other symptoms that might come about, and they almost disappeared. And then, but not quite. So every time the infection was lessening, and then I was put on a double dose for another 14 days. And then other areas of my health started coming undone, which I was terribly worried about. And that the last time, I think my antibiotics finished about 4 weeks ago, and the symptoms, it was all fine for about 4 or 5 days. And then the only thing I was feeling for a little bit was this tiny amount of kind of pelvic pain, which made me think that, it's not quite gone. And that lingered and then almost disappeared. And then last week I went to see a new naturopath, and she put me on this Thuja with a whole host of other stuff to help build my immune system again. And now it's all gone. It feels like it's all gone.
Yeah, wow. That is amazing.
But the problem, and this is why I would encourage everyone to try and go down that path or other paths if you can, the problem for me is that as I was taking round after round after round of antibiotic, my immune system was getting worse, and so it was bringing up old chronic fatigue-related sort of symptoms of fatigue and bloating and fatigue, and it was, and then I got bronchitis and got tonsillitis, and it was just worsening and worsening. But the problem was my immune system was so low that it also then wasn't fighting the Ureaplasma.
That's crazy.
You know? Yeah. So if you can, you just got to make sure you're getting enough supplement support, and your diet's amazing. So my nutritionist has had me on some amazing tonics, and like one thing that I drink every day, twice a day, is I juice 4 lemons with a raw onion, a garlic clove and some turmeric, and I have a quarter of a cup with warm water and some cayenne pepper at breakfast and dinner. And this is apparently amazingly antiviral and immune boosting, and, you know, and I'm obviously being very, very careful with my diet, just trying to get as much, you know, whole food in
as possible,
fruit and veggies and things, well, mainly vegetables, greens as I can.
Wow, you're so encouraging. Like, your determination to fight.
Well, yours would be too, wouldn't it? If you couldn't have sex.
I don't know.
But you know, I talk about this. You know, I do this. The main thing I do with my life is, in my working life, is this 2-hour CTC therapy that I speak quite a lot about, which is utterly transformational. But you know, a lot of people will come into my practice, and basically what I do is clear people of anything holding them back from feeling amazing. A lot of it's mindset related stuff, but someone might come into my practice, and it happens a lot. People that follow me on social media who, for food related stuff, will often come in with food related issues. And, you know, a really common story I hear from people is, oh God, I've been diagnosed with a gluten intolerance and it's so bad because I can't eat bread and I can't eat wheat, and I feel like saying cry me a river. I don't, but because I've got so many other intolerances, I mean it in the nicest possible way. But my reaction to these people is, why be so down about it? For all you know, you've had this intolerance all of your life, and so therefore you have no idea how good you could possibly feel at this moment. Imagine if you take this out of your diet, how amazing you could feel. So therefore get excited. Yeah. And so, and I am pretty determined, and I do love a challenge, and I do what I'm told. So if I go to a nutritionist and she says, jump over that fence and eat all that dark chocolate, then I'll bloody well do it, and it's because I just want to be well. I've had so many years of really average health, and I just want to know what it feels like to feel amazing. So,
That's so inspiring.
And if you get too frustrated and stressed about this stuff, that exasperates the issue. Yeah. Just exasperates it. So I'm like, and I love it.
We talk a lot about not being stressed, and food shouldn't be stressful. And one of our mottos is don't stress it. So, don't take things too seriously, live life to the fullest, and don't stress things that you can't control. Like, just move on and get on with it.
Well, because you have a choice. I mean, you get to choose how you feel every minute of the day. And if you want to get miserable about the fact that you can't eat bread or whatever it is, or you're going to take this ghastly tonic, well, do so, but know that that has a negative impact on your health as well. And I think as well, when you put on, what I find that's really fun about these situations is suddenly I'm discovering all these different sorts of foods. Like before this came along, Jess, my nutritionist, said, or when it did come along, she's like, right, I need you to be eating a lot of fresh herbs, and we need to have lots of pestos, like really get into the blender and blend up kale pesto and dollop it on everything. And I'd never made kale pesto until about 4 weeks ago, and now I eat half a jar of it every day, and pretty much. And it adds, and I'm getting all creative again in the kitchen and eating all these wonderful foods in an effort to get as much nutrition as I can. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Just going back to the thuja, is it? Thuja?
From a tree.
Is that right?
Yes.
And would that be subscribed?
No, prescription only.
Prescribed?
No, because I went into my same little local store where I get a lot of my supplements, and I was telling this particular guy who's a naturopath in there about what had happened, and he was sort of across my story, as many people tend to be these days. It's quite funny because I knew when I sent out that blog post, I thought, I know what's going to happen. One of these days soon on my morning walk with my dog, someone's going to come up to me and ask about my vagina. And sure enough, the next day, someone came up to me on the street and said, oh, my God, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sending that blog post.
No
I'm like, oh, my God, I'm on the street talking to a stranger about it. But anyway, I digress. So I went into this health food store, and the naturopath was saying, oh, yeah, we've got it. It's just over there on the shelf. You can.
Wow. So anybody can just go and get it. You don't have to go to a doctor or a naturopath or anyone.
I don't think so, but know that I'm no expert, people. So do your research. I haven't researched in terms of potential symptoms or reactions or anything like that, but it's worth knowing about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's worked for you.
Can you just spell that again, just so our listeners can get it down again?
Yeah, THUJA.
Yeah, awesome. So just before we finish up and ask you our last question, can you let everyone know where they can find you? Yes.
So I have an online, what I call an online wellness hub called The Holistic Ingredient, and that's theholisticingredient.com, and I share lots of whole food recipes and sort of tips around mindset stuff and positivity and low tox living there, but also on Instagram, The Holistic Ingredient, and on Facebook, The Holistic Ingredient.
Awesome.
Excellent, thank you.
And on Pinterest, The Holistic Ingredient.
Holistic Ingredient. And our very last question for today is, if you could give one piece of advice about this topic, what would it be?
Oh, one bit of advice. It may not be one. So if I could do this journey again, I would still commence the journey as holistically as possible. In light of what it's done to my health as a result and my immune system right now, I would certainly still have tested all those natural remedies that I did. I would most definitely have gone down the path of thuja. I would definitely have seen a naturopath to complement my nutritionist much earlier than I did, so that I was getting support from all angles.
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is, but now I learn and I can help educate others, I hope. But I think, and my nutritionist and naturopath are working together, which is amazing. I mean,
that is cool.
It's so good. They're in different states of Australia, but they're communicating to make sure that together I'm being well looked after. So I think I would do all of those things before I went down the antibiotic route.
Yeah.
But then if that is the case, if that's what you've got to do, you've just got to do it.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Great advice.
And try and stay as positive about it as you can, because I know that the stress for me, having bronchitis and tonsillitis and all other things over the last couple of months, has put a lot of pressure on me in terms of being unable to work and not having good energy, and that can create stress. So you just got to stay as positive as you can in these scenarios.
Yeah.
You've done an amazing
job.
Yeah, we keep talking over
ladies.
each other, but we said the same thing at the same time. You have done an amazing job, and we totally applaud your courage for coming out and talking about your issue with vaginal thrush, because it is a bit of a taboo subject, but it is so common, and I am absolutely sure that you have helped some of our listeners today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for being on our show. We really appreciate the honesty. It was incredible, and I certainly learned so much, and I know you guys did as well. So if you did learn some information or found that interesting and inspiring, please go and leave us a review in iTunes or the podcasting channel of choice. And next week, I am interviewing Jo. So join us next week, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and we will see you there. Until then, take care. Bye.